Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Now for today's video, I thought I would do a video of all the unpopular books that everybody hates, but I recommend and that I really enjoy. So if you guys like my recommendations or if you guys trust my recommendations, then please try to read these books with an open mind and tell me if you like them or not. But I always find myself hating books that everybody loves and then liking books that everybody hates. And here are some of the books that I really liked that everybody just didn't like, but I'm going to try to persuade you and justify why I liked it so much. So I think the first book that I'm going to talk about is this one that I've talked about previously in one of my videos. This one's called The Boy with the Bookstore and it's by Sarah Smith. She has a extended last name now, but I cannot pronounce her last name and I don't want to butcher it. But essentially, Sarah Smith and I have a rocky relationship. A lot of her books, I find that they're usually in the middle for me, maybe a 3 out of 5 stars. And then if I really dislike it, it'll be a 2 out of 5 stars or a 1 out of 5 stars. But this is her most recent release last year. And I really like this one. I feel like nobody talks about her books anymore because it just kind of dropped off everybody's radars. They found other authors that they were like, but I picked this one up and it was really amazing. So it follows a Filipino heroine who owns a bakery and she's doing really well for herself. She's kind of kept close to her family because her family unfortunately had a lot of debt. So she uses the money that she produces from her bakery to pay off the family's debt and to make sure that the family has, you know, some cushion just in case things go awry. And she has a great relationship with the store owner across the street from her, which is our hero who owns the bookstore. But what happens is that the landlords of the both places decides that he's going to renovate one of the spaces. So in order to keep both tenants happy, he suggests the idea that they both share a space. So it's going to be half bakery and then half bookstore, and they get into a lot of crazy hijinks with each other. They're always pranking each other, so it does get a little bit childish at times, and I can understand why people might not like it because it's a little bit childish. But it's to be expected when it comes to enemies to lovers and especially when it comes to workplace romances. But what I really liked about this book is the Asian representation in this book. I felt that they just did it so well with talking about finances, especially in a close-knit Asian family and what it means to be a good daughter in the Asian community too as well. I really enjoyed that aspect of it. And our hero, how could I not like our hero? Our hero is a bookstore owner and he cares so much about books. I think it's like a dream come true. This one's called No Offense by Meg Cabot. I think that's how you say her last name. And I got it for $10 on discount. But I have a paperback copy of this book. But I loved it so much that I needed the hardback too as well because I freaking love an opposites attract romance. I feel like that this one gets very low ratings because it's a very slow plot. Nothing really happens, but things do happen. If you want to read a romance that is realistic, that is between two people who are a bit on the older side. Our hero is actually around 40 years old. He has a teenage daughter and he's just minding his own business, being single, and he thinks he's going to live the rest of his life single until a new librarian comes into town. It's a small town romance, so she comes into town. She's a new fresh face. She has new fresh ideas to change up the library, and she's spunky, she's strong, and she's spontaneous. And essentially what happens is that in her library, somebody gives birth to a child and abandons the child, and now she is very emotionally attached to the well-being of this baby, and she and our hero, who is the sheriff in town, have to work together to uncover what actually happened and who is the parent and if the parent is still in danger, because obviously she needs medical attention after she gives birth. So, you know, they're racing against the clock. But in the meantime, they are slowly getting to know each other. They're falling in love. And he's learning to become a better parent because he's been kind of like an offhands type of parent where he doesn't really care about his daughter's interests in it anymore. And they're growing further apart. So it's such an endearing novel. It's so heartwarming. There's so many scenes in it where it's just like quiet moments between our two characters that I really enjoyed. So if you're looking for like a slow romance, filled with a little bit of mystery and filled with a little bit of heartwarming scenes, then definitely pick this one up. Okay, so the next book is a book that I feel like a group of people have read, but I don't think you guys have read it because it's not really romance and it's not really like women's fiction, but it does have some elements here and there that I really appreciated, that I really liked. I'm also biased because this book is about an investment banker, and I'm not in investment banking, but I'm in the finance world, so I can relate to her in terms of her crazy hours, her demanding bosses, and her clients. So this one is called Breathe In, Cash Out by Madeline Henry, and I adored this novel because I related so much to the character. So I think that's one of the main reasons why I gave it such a high rating. Essentially, our heroine is an investment banker. She works all these crazy hours, working on these like projects, making sure that she's present in the office so people know that she's working, because what she's striving toward ultimately is to obtain 100% of her bonus, because she wants to have that bonus so that she can quit her job and she can start her yoga studio. Hence why she's in this weird yoga position right now, but while also typing something on a laptop. And she is just trying to keep sane because she feels like she's like losing her sanity while working at this investment bank. She's working all these crazy hours. She's falling asleep at her desk. She's sleeping in the closet. She's sleeping in the washroom. She's doing all these crazy things and she hates it. And meanwhile, she's also dealing with all these different personalities at work. So I feel like if you have a similar situation where you're just really struggling with the workload, you're looking for something relatable to you, and you're struggling with people in the environment that you're in the culture, and like in the work office, then definitely this one would be something that might interest you and you should pick it up. Personally, for me, I picked it up because I'm in the finance world and I did relate to the character. And that's why I give it a 5 out of 5 stars and I really loved it. The next book that I want to talk about is this one called Bet On It by Jody Slaughter. I really adored this novel. I feel like this one has really low ratings and I'm not quite sure why. I think it's because it's more of like kind of like a slow romance, but it's not. It involves our hero who is there to take care of his grandma because his grandma had a really bad accident and he feels like he has this sense of duty as a grandson to kind of watch over her and make sure that she's doing okay. So he travels back to the small town that he once grew up in, and he struggles a lot with the small town because he doesn't have fond memories with it and he doesn't want to be there. But as soon as she's, good to go, he's gonna leave and he's just gonna go back to his life in the big city. He ends up meeting our heroine who is playing bingo with his grandma, and they just have this really strong connection to each other. They bond over the fact that they both suffer anxiety disorders and that they both struggle a lot with anxiety. And they have all these like deep questions and conversations with each other regarding how they cope with their anxiety, how they move on from it. They're growing closer and closer to each other. And it's really difficult for a heroine because she knows that he's not there, or he's not going to be there in a couple months' time, and that he is going to leave. So she doesn't want to have that strong of attachment towards him. And it's always like that difficult conversation between, should we try a long distance relationship or should we just end it before it starts? And I really liked it, mostly because of the anxiety disorder representation. I think she did such a great job at it. I think Jody wrote it so well, and I felt what our characters were feeling, and I could like sympathize, or I could empathize with our characters. And I think that's like the qualities that you look for in an author, where the writing style is that good. Okay, I think the last book I'm going to recommend is this one called Truth, Lies, and Second Dates by Mary Janice Davison. I freaking love this book. This book was so funny that I cackled out loud, and it's been such a long time since I was able to do that, or a book was able to make me do that. Essentially, this is about our heroine who is an airplane pilot, which is very unheard of. It's very cool. And she is doing all these national flights, and she's doing this one flight that's connecting from one city to another, and then she's going to return back home to her big city, or so she thought. What ends up happening is that a layover takes place, and now she has to land in the small town that she once grew up in, and she really hates that small town, and the small town does not like her. She has a really bad image. And here's the twist, because I want to tell you guys, she ends up back into the small town where everybody accused her of murdering her best friend, because she was caught at the crime scene where her best friend was murdered, gruesomely murdered, and she proven herself innocent, but a lot of people still doubt her and a lot of people think ill of her, so she doesn't really want to be in the small town at all. But soon when she arrives there, things start happening. She gets like these like little notes. She feels like she's being followed. She feels like she's being watched. And then our hero kind of steps in. He's very skeptical of her. He thinks that she played a role in her death. So he definitely does not want to be close to her. But he can't help but feel that there's like a special connection between him and her. And he also can't help but feel that maybe she is actually innocent. So he works with her to kind of further prove her innocence, but also try to find the actual killer that killed her best friend. And this book was funny, it was adventurous, it was mysterious, it was thrilling. I loved it so much, and I can't recommend you guys to check this out enough. It has a low rating on Goodreads. I don't know why I loved it so much, but hopefully you guys can check it out and tell me if you guys liked it or not. But anyways, those are all the unpopular books that I really enjoy and that I really like. I think I'm going to do a similar video featuring historical romances, so let me know if you want to see one, and I'll see you guys soon in another video. Bye.